So I think there's a lot of common ground on gun reform. One of the things that I think we can pass is my bill on trafficking. 9 out of 10 of the weapons used in crimes in New York State come from out of state and are trafficked in by straw purchasers. It's not even a federal crime. So we are going to make it a federal crime to end the trafficking of these illegal weapons. Second bill that's going to be bipartisan is a background check bill. Senator Schumer's working on it with others. I think that bill is so much common sense because at the end of the day, if you've just been convicted of domestic violence, you shouldn't be able to go buy a weapon the next day. If you are gravely mentally ill and violent, you shouldn't be able to buy a weapon. So I think those are two common sense reforms that can get done. You probably can do some real investments in mental health as well towards prevention. And you may be able to ban the large magazine clips. That has yet to be seen. But I'm hopeful, and I think President Obama will mention those things tonight.
You notice what she didn't say there. Assault weapons. That thing's got a snowball's chance of where, it seems, at this moment of getting through here. So it'll be smaller victories than what many Americans thought maybe a month ago was in the offing. All right. That, of course, part of my interview earlier today with Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Now, one lawmaker, certainly who has been in many ways synonymous with the fight over guns, assault weapons, and really gun control in this country is Representative Carolyn McCarthy from our neck of the woods, our own Andrew Whitman. He spoke with her earlier today. Andrew?
And Rich, as you know, the Long Island Congresswoman has a very personal stake in this issue. She lost her husband in the 1993 Long Island Railroad shooting. Her son was severely wounded in that attack. It's the issue that led her into Congress and into politics, and she's been talking about gun control and gun safety ever since. I spoke with her earlier both about the current state of the talks on gun legislation and also whether she'd be willing to accept less than everything she wants in to get something passed. Here's just some of what she said. You've been advocating for greater gun control, greater gun safety. Do you think the nation is finally ready for that to happen?
I do think that the nation is finally ready for it, only because of all the different groups that I'm seeing coming in together on one message, which I've never seen before. Also that so many new members of Congress are actually fighting alongside of me. Tonight we're bringing victims from all over the country to sit with us as the president speaks, and I'm happy to say that I have Chief Malvern, who unfortunately his uncle was shot right in front of my husband, who died. So yes, we've got people all over coming, and we have a chance.
You know as well as I do, these things work in waves. They capture the national attention, and then all of a sudden people forget and they tend to move on. You think there's enough momentum behind the push for gun control right now in the wake of Newtown, in the wake of upstate New York and other places to get something done?
I honestly do, because you have to understand this is 2 months now, that unfortunately, since Newtown. And here you are asking me about that question, and media from all over the country is still asking that question. The president has done a wonderful job leading, but it's not up to him anymore. It's actually up to Congress to get something done, and I think that we will get something done.
Everybody's trying to look to the bottom line and figure what can get passed, particularly through the Republican-controlled House. Would you be okay if you could get things like, background checks and a better computerized system, but maybe not assault weapons and not extended ammo clips? Is the perfect going to get in the way of the good here?
Well, we're hoping. Obviously, I do think that we can pass the background checks, closing the gun show loophole. I also think there's a very, very good chance on the Internet and gun trafficking. I really do believe there's going to be a lot done on that. The magazines, the large magazines, are the important piece, because it doesn't matter what kind of gun you have. If you cut down the number of bullets, then we know we can save lives.
There is arguably a gun culture that exists and seems to thrive, particularly in inner cities and also particularly in very rural areas. How do you stem that sense that, they're not just abridging perhaps my freedom or my right to carry a gun, but they're abridging this culture that we've come to be enamored with?
Well, again, we have the Second Amendment rights. So anyone that wants a gun to protect their home are perfectly allowed to keep that. What we're trying to do is stop the crimes that are going on in the streets, stopping the bad guys from getting the guns. We can do that. And I think that people have to understand, and you've got to understand, the numbers with the NRA members are extremely high on us doing something. These are hunters. These are sportsmen. They don't use the large magazines to go hunting. They're only allowed 3 to 5 bullets. So they get it, and that's the difference this time. And also educating them on most of them did not know that everybody did not go for a background check. That is common sense.
Now, I also spoke with New Jersey Senator Frank Lautenberg, who, as you know, has been advocating for gun control for the better part of 2 decades plus in his time here in Washington. And the sense that I got from Congresswoman McCarthy and Senator Lautenberg is, while they might be willing to take less than everything that they're hoping for when it comes to gun control legislation, they're not even prepared to talk about taking less until it's clear that they won't be able to get everything that they're seeking. So they're still very hopeful that they'll be able to get some meaningful legislation across and that the president will focus on that in the State of the Union tonight. Rich, let's send it back to you.
Hey, just on a side note, Andrew, Senator Lautenberg give you anything on Menendez? Did he tell you if he thinks his friend's in trouble or not?
Because there were breaking news that was coming out as that interview was happening, so we didn't talk so much about Senator Menendez. We did talk about Cory Booker. Stay tuned to FiOS 1 for the latest on that, Rich.
A lot of love there. All right, thank you very much, Andrew. Now, on the subject of guns, if you just take a look at tonight's guest list, you get a sense of where some of the battle lines in both, obviously, the debate and the potential legislation, but also the messaging will be. Now, on one hand, you've got victims of gun violence. For example, the First Lady has invited Caitlin Roy. She's a first-grade teacher at Sandy Hook Elementary School. She was hailed, rightfully so, as a hero for hiding the students in her class from a gunman. You also have Lieutenant Brian Murphy. He's a Wisconsin police officer who was the first officer on the scene at that gun attack at the Sikh temple in Wisconsin last year. You also have the parents of Hadia Pendleton, who we talked about, the Chicago teen who was shot and killed just days after performing at the inauguration. Former Representative Gabby Gifford, she'll also be attending. She's the guest of Senator John McCain and Representative Ron Barber, who was also injured during the Tucson shooting that critically injured his old boss. But on the other hand, you have Representative Steve Stockman of Texas, who invited Ted Nugent. For you music fans, the Motor City Madman, rocker turned gun right defender. He asked him to attend, and you may remember, among other things, this is what Mr. Nugent had to say last year before the election.
And if you want more of those kinds of evil, anti-American people in the Supreme Court, then don't get involved and let Obama take office again. Because I'll tell you this right now, if Barack Obama becomes the president in November again, I will either be dead or in jail by this time next year. Why are you laughing? You think that's funny? That's not funny at all. I'm serious as a heart attack.
And Dominic, he is the guest of a member of the august body of the House of Representatives. And I should say the Secret Service took that enough seriously, they investigated him, but he'll be sitting there in the stands today.
I'm supposed to be diplomatic, right? I'm on television right now.
You always say that, but nobody thinks you're going to be, so why are you even going through the pretense?
I'm supposed to be diplomatic. Isn't that idiot's 15 minutes of fame, isn't it up? Isn't it done? I don't listen to country music. No. I'm not saying it's not good music, but what has Ted Nugent ever done for society? Who is this clown?
You look at him, he thinks he's smart, all right?
What? I don't know what he is, but who is this clown? And isn't it amazing? After the Secret Service investigates, he stops running his mouth about if Obama's president.
But you know what, Scott? What's amazing to me is he's not only a guest, but the lawmaker who's there with him, he's going to have a Twitter feed checking the lies of Obama during the speech. I forget what the hashtag was. It's not important. My point is, nobody muzzles this guy. They let him bring this guy.
I mean, this comes back to the original point when we started the segment, which is how divided our country is. That there are segments of the Republican Party that are welcoming in this type of rhetoric.
But one of their own was shot. Scott, I mean, Gabby Giffords is one of their own. She was gunned down.
I didn't say it was rational.
Well, it's political malpractice, frankly. I mean, all kidding aside. So the face of the Republican Party is going to be this guy, because you know he's getting it all the time.
How does this help?
From there, it doesn't help.
But
it polarizes even more.
What I don't get is this. It used to be the Democrats, who could screw up anything. They couldn't stay on message, right? But how does Boehner, or even anybody who wants, they're going to lose some of the moment by focusing on this clown with the ponytail down his rear end, and instead you got Boehner, Cantor, you got Ryan, that they wouldn't say, what are you doing? No, he's not on the list. Where's the party discipline?
Because John Boehner's speakership is always hanging in the balance. He came out with the compromise on the fiscal cliff. He actually raised revenues. I mean, this is a guy who is not exactly representing the folks who came to Congress to, from the Republican side to say no new taxes, cut spending, bring our country back fiscally, and all that is getting lost. This is actually a brilliant strategy by the president.
And I'll talk about the GOP in the next segment, even though you wouldn't like to, Michael. But my point is, do we all agree at the end of the day, if they get a background check and maybe a database, that's the best they're going to get if they're lucky?
Absolutely, and they know that. And there's not going to be a major change in our gun laws, but that would be substantial enough that the Democrats and those who are in favor of gun regulation
what you're looking there.
win.
You see the polls with the assault weapons ban, the overwhelming majorities for the ammo clips and everything else.
But it
doesn't matter.
But that's great. The people don't matter in this country. What matters are the special interests.
I know the stakes are high, but I'm not giving up on the assault weapons ban.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going to happen after the address. There won't be one rebuttal, there'll be two. That'll tell you what the president and where Congress is right now in terms of what they have to try and get through with a very divided and dysfunctional Washington. Stay with us.